Most men who are over 60 can hit one or two of these benchmarks, but very few can hit all of them. And they certainly don't think of themselves as being elite, but their criteria for being elite might not be what they think it is. So in this video, we'll look at 6 benchmarks that define what exceptional aging actually is. Hey, I'm Hitch. I'm 76 years old, but my latest blood work puts me at around 50. Longevity science isn't a hobby for me. It's a passion. All right, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 6 benchmarks that get harder to hold on to the older you get. First, whether or not you're actually tracking your health instead of just guessing. Then we'll talk about sleep and morning energy, followed by strength and power. Then mobility and balance, body composition, especially visceral fat. And finally, cardiovascular fitness. Taken together, these give you a pretty clear picture of how well you're aging. So let's start with the first one. Most men don't track their health. Only a small minority of men over 60 track multiple metrics and then adjust their behavior from the data that they collect. My guess is definitely under 1 in 10. Now, tracking means more than just stepping on a scale every once in a while. It means watching your weight, your waist, your blood pressure, your blood sugar. It means paying attention to your sleep, your activity level, and to your labs. When something drifts, you adjust early instead of just chalking it up to your age. That habit moves you out of reactive aging and into proactive aging. Early detection is one of the strongest predictors of a longer lifespan. The usual troublemakers, insulin resistance, hypertension, visceral fat, a decline in strength or VO2 max, they're all easier to reverse if you catch them early. And they're a lot less cooperative later on. Most men never do this. They avoid doctors. They avoid data. They normalize every symptom as, it's just my age. And consistency in tracking health data is uncommon. If you want to build that habit, to really ingrain it, keep it simple. Track your weight. Monitor your resting heart rate, your heart rate variability, and your sleep quality with a wearable tracking device like Whoop or Garmin. Check your blood pressure once or twice a week. Each month, review trends in weight, sleep, energy, and stress. If you see this metric starting to drift towards suboptimal, adjust your course. Run labs at least once or twice a year. Fasting glucose, A1C, lipids, inflammation markers, kidney and liver panels. Hormones too. And then set one improvement goal for the next tracking block. That's how you earn your way into the elite group on this particular metric. Now, this next one's going to sound a little weird, but trust me, it's legit. If you wake up with real morning energy, you're already ahead of most men your age. Maybe only around 1 in 4 older men wake up consistently feeling really rested. The rest start the day in a fog, leaning on caffeine and fighting gravity. Stable morning energy means that the machinery still works. Your sleep quality is intact. Your circadian rhythm is still aligned. Your nighttime metabolism didn't fall apart. Your cortisol awakening response is still functioning normally. In simple terms, your body recovered overnight from the day before. That's a marker of healthy aging. Chronic morning fatigue is much more the norm. It's linked to metabolic dysfunction and accelerated biological aging. Waking up rested is more rare because sleep gets messy with age. More sleep apnea, more nighttime waking, less deep sleep, declining testosterone and thyroid responses. And then bad evening habits don't help. Late meals, alcohol, blue light, and glucose swings. The perfect recipe for waking up tired. Improvement starts with the basics. Consistent sleep and wake times. A cool, dark room. No alcohol 3 to 4 hours before bed. Or better yet, no alcohol at all. Stop eating 3 hours before bed. Don't work out before going to bed. Get outdoor light within 30 minutes of wakening. This resets your circadian rhythms. If fatigue sticks around, check for apnea, thyroid issues, low testosterone, or impaired glucose control. Dial this in, and you end up in the small group that consistently wakes up feeling rested and recovered. Now, if you're over 60 and you've managed to maintain some real strength, that's unusual. I'm talking about strength that you can actually use. Standing up easily, climbing stairs, carrying a couple bags of heavy groceries, or maintaining stability. Only about 30 to 50% of men your age maintain basic functional strength, but only 10 to 15% stay in the athletically strong category. Strength matters because preserving muscle is one of the strongest predictors of healthy aging, especially leg muscle. More muscle means better glucose control, lower inflammation, and stronger mitochondria. Power, how fast you can turn strength into movement, matters even more. It drops faster than even strength. When you can retain power past 60, you're in really rare company. It's rare because sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass, accelerates with age. Years of being sedentary add up. Pain and stiffness shrink movement. Even active men lose power unless they specifically train for it. Most men think that they're maintaining. In reality, strength and power can slip away without even noticing. Improving this parameter is pretty simple, really. Start with sit-to-stands, step-ups, and loaded walks. Then build strength, squats or leg presses, deadlifts, split squats, and grip work. And don't skip power, light kettlebell swings, explosive chair rises, hill sprints, or stair bursts. Now add more protein, address low testosterone if that's a problem, and preserve your mobility so that strength actually works in the real world. Master these basics, and you'll become part of the select few. Now, let's talk about mobility and balance. If you're over 60 and you still move well, you're already in a minority. Smooth, fluid, controlled movement is rare in guys your age. Only about 10 to 15% maintain strong athletic level balance and the ability to move through a large, controlled range of motion. You've seen it. You can spot it instantly, how someone stands up, turns, or walks. Mobility matters because it underpins everything else. Your risk of falling, your independence, strength training that doesn't wind up causing an injury, a gait that doesn't reveal your true age, the ability to do cardio without feeling like your joints are going to file a complaint. Mobility usually declines before strength, and once it does, the rest follows. Doctors watch for the ability to get up off the floor for a reason. It's a mobility report card. Now, preserving mobility is a lot less common than you might think because decades of sitting tightens hips, stiffens ankles, weakens glutes, and shortens gait patterns. Most men repeat the same motions for years. Even guys who lift weights on a regular basis lose mobility because they train for low, not controlled range of motion. Strong but stiff is still a liability. Improvement is remarkably easy. 5 minutes a day is all you need. Move your hips, flex your ankles, rotate your upper body, and practice getting to the floor and then back up. Add strength through your range, deep squats, split squats, hinge movements like deadlifts or hip hinges, loaded carries. Then train balance, single leg stands, heel to toe walking, slow step overs. Look it up and practice in real life. Get down on the floor and then back up every day. If you can get up without using your hands, even better. Move often. And if you want to function at a level that most men your age can't, you need to master mobility. By the way, if you're interested in longevity science in general and you want to get better at these benchmarks or make improvements in your biological age, I run a free school community called the Longevity Alliance. Inside, you'll find a lot more information on supplements, protocols, interventions, anything that will actually move the needle. If that sounds like your kind of community, the link's in the description. Did I mention that it's absolutely free? All right. The next parameter that marks you as remarkable if you're over 60 is low visceral fat. Maybe 10 to 15% of men your age manage to maintain genuinely low visceral fat. Now, visceral fat is the fat that sits around your organs, your liver, your pancreas, or your intestines. This isn't the stuff you can pinch. You can look normal and still be carrying a lot of visceral fat. Keeping it low matters because visceral fat drives most of the metabolic problems that we blame on aging. Insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, chronic inflammation, fatty liver, faster biological aging. When visceral fat stays down, metabolic age stays down. Mobility is better, hormones behave, sleep improves. It's one of the clearest signs that the inside is aging better than the outside suggests. Now, maintaining low visceral fat is pretty rare because visceral fat increases with age even when your weight doesn't. Muscle loss accelerates it. Poor sleep, chronic stress, alcohol, and eating late in the evening all push more fat towards the organs. And most men never measure it, so they assume everything is just fine. Now, you can measure visceral fat with an in-body scan, a DEXA scan, or a simple waist-to-height ratio where your waist should be less than half of your height. To reduce it, tighten up your nutrition. No eating 3 hours before bed. Prioritize protein, cut added sugars, and keep your calories in check. But you also need to include strength training and zone 2 cardio, plus occasional intense interval training. Improve your sleep, lower your stress. If you can reduce the amount of visceral fat that you're carrying, that's what will get you into this elite group of men. All right, we're down to one of the rarest groups of all, and that's a high VO2 max. If you're over 60 and you've managed to keep your VO2 max high, you're in one of the rarest groups on this list. Less than 5% of men over 40 have a VO2 max score that's over 44. VO2 max is your aerobic engine, how well your heart, your lungs, your blood vessels, and your mitochondria use oxygen during exercise. It's one of the strongest predictors of lifespan that we have. Men with higher VO2 max live longer, age more slowly, and stay more resilient. It protects against cardiovascular disease, metabolic decline, cognitive decline, and frailty. It isn't just fitness, it's cellular competence. When your VO2 max stays high into your 60s, it means the whole system is still highly functional. And that's a small miracle given how things usually go statistically. It's rare because VO2 max drops about 10% per decade after you turn 30. Most men start to drop structured cardio training long before that. Walking helps, but it won't preserve the engine. Mitochondria needs targeted stress to stay efficient. That means you need to challenge yourself, make yourself uncomfortable on a regular basis. Improving this parameter is actually pretty simple. Not necessarily easy, but simple. In untrained individuals, zone 2 training can help a little. It can slow the loss of VO2 max and produces small gains in untrained people. But really, the only way to really raise VO2 max substantially is with intensity. High intensity interval training, or even better, the Norwegian 4x4, and consistency that borders on obsessive. And don't forget wearable tracking devices like Whoop or Garmin. They can estimate your VO2 max well enough to track trends. If you're among the really small group of men that have a high VO2 max, I think you should consider yourself elite. Okay, I've said that if you can hit these markers, you're rare. So the obvious question is, how rare? Now, these are just my estimates. I'm not citing any evidence that spits out these exact percentages, but they're not really guesses either. They're extrapolated from data that actually exists. And when I look at that data, the conclusion is pretty obvious. If you're over 60 and you can hit any 4 of these 6 criteria, you're already in pretty uncommon territory. Only a small minority of men your age can do that. If you can, you're in the healthy but not really elite group. Rare because most men lose ground in strength, mobility, cardio capacity, or visceral fat in their 60s. Hitting any 4 of these benchmarks means that you've managed to stay on top of your game. Not perfect, but certainly impressive. Reaching 5, now that's another level. Only a tiny fraction of men over 60 can do that. This is the group with robust strength, solid mobility, low visceral fat, stable morning energy, good cardiovascular fitness, and health behavior that's proactive. To hold all of that at the same time requires intention across multiple systems for years. That's why so few men make the list. But if you can hit all 6, now that is the true outlier category. If you can do that, you're in a group that's truly elite. Somewhere between 1 in 200 and 1 in 1,000 men can pull that off. These are the individuals who monitor their health, maintain metabolic flexibility, preserve strength and movement quality, keep visceral fat low, and sustain a VO2 max far above their average age group. In biological terms, they're not just exceptions, they're exceptional. They're the people who didn't settle for close enough. And they're the people who will still be out dancing when most of their peers are pushing up daisies. If you want to go deeper on any of this, join the Longevity Alliance right here. It's completely free. Okay, that's it for me. I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time.